So once again, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm Jason, and we are going to spend about 25 to 30 minutes going through our very new and the latest addition to the Minga campus management platform, our FlexTime module. And we're going to do it as an interactive demo. So we're actually going to, go through the product and walk through kind of the basics of of getting started and using the FlexTime manager module to, not only help you organize your FlexTime period, but also, create more freedom and flexibility with things like students choosing and selecting activities, teachers and admin creating and assigning students to activities, and creating a lot more structure, a lot more understanding and clarity around what's available on your FlexTime calendar and schedule, and also where students are going to be. One of the biggest concerns, we hear from the schools we talk to about FlexTime, first, if they're not using some type of FlexTime solution, is of course that students are often just kind of wandering aimlessly without a destination in mind. And the period's very disorganized and nobody knows where they're going. And even sometimes staff don't know where they're supposed to be. And if they are using a FlexTime solution of some type to manage it, that it's clunky and very hard to use for staff and challenging for students. So both areas that we are been working very hard to solve and integrate it into the process with Minga. So I know Georgia and Giuseppe will be helping to ask questions. I see May already has her hand up, and she's from our team. So I'm not sure why she has her hand up, but she does. Hi, May. So, well, let's get started. So first off, FlexTime is released and ready to go for the 23-24 school year. It is another module in the Minga platform. It can be added on to the Minga bundle. So basically, it has connections into all sorts of components within Minga, primarily a lot of elements into our events module, which part of the community module, as well as the check-in module. So it is an additional module. It can be added on. It's very, especially for anyone who has some experience with these solutions, it is very affordable. You can add the FlexTime for as little as $700, up to about $4,500, depending on your school size, but it can be a very affordable component for you if you're using FlexTime on campus. And when it shows up, it'll just show up as another manager module right here in Minga when it gets added. So if you do have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account manager at Minga if you're already a Minga customer, or if you're working with someone. I think most people today are customers or always have a connection to Minga. If you're on this call and you are new to Minga, you can also, come and sign up and get a demo right here from our website at minga.io, and we'll get you connected with someone that can help you understand a little bit more how FlexTime or our other solutions can fit on campus at your school. But yep, very straightforward. And of course, like every other module we have, it uses a lot of the same components. So from a training perspective, it's still going to look, very, very familiar for staff. Let's get one thing clear, though, that, FlexTime can be a very complicated process on campus. And managing FlexTime can also, it takes some training and some work. And not only do we of course, offer the solution and all the training, but we're building expanding on our repertoire of best practices guides as well to help make this easier for you to run and use on campus, and give you not only suggestions and training on how to use FlexTime module, but also best practices and training on how to make your FlexTime period more efficient and easier to manage. So all of the guides that I'll reference here, that I'll go through this. There's a few big primary guides in using the FlexTime module and FlexTime Manager. Are also, when you have FlexTime enabled, are also available from our brand new Help Center, which for everyone that's new on here, the new Help Center is also live in Minga. It's been out for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and is a much easier way for you to access all the resources you need to be successful with Minga. And when you log into Minga, staff, teachers, and even students will see the Help Center tray right on the right side of your browser. So there it is, and it pops right out for me. It's organized by module, and also some actions. Getting started or restarting your Minga for the new year. There's a, starting fresh for registration right up here, as well as getting started links and checklists. So the only thing to note is that the Help Center is only available on web. So when you're using Minga in a browser, it will not be available on your phone in most cases. So log in on a browser and open up the Help Center tray. And there's also connections for contacting support, links to our live training calendar. We are running 2 or more trainings a day right now, pretty much every day. So please take advantage of those live instructor-led trainings with our customer team too. All right, diving into FlexTime. So I'm going to walk through the basics of what we would do in a FlexTime activity. And I have 3 different browsers open today to make this even more complicated for me, which I'm thinking is going to be a 85% chance that I end up in a wrong browser somehow. But I have this browser, which is my my admin screen. Oh, I need to make sure I'm logged properly into my admin screen here. So that is Principal Skinner. This is my Simpsons demo. So I'm logged into my admin screen on this one. Here I'm logged in as Bart. So this is Mr. Bart Simpson, and that is my student. And I'm also logged in over here as Miss Kerbopple. So that is my teacher. And you can see that for both my admin and my teacher, so this is Mr. Skinner, here's my FlexTime manager, and my teacher, there's my FlexTime manager, that I can access my FlexTime resources right from the admin screen when I am, doing things like creating FlexTime periods or creating activities and activity templates and making them available in FlexTime periods. And students are going to access all of their FlexTime resources under Student Tools. And they will have a new option here under FlexTime for them to select activities during particular periods and period windows. So we make it pretty easy for both admin, teachers, and students to look at the upcoming FlexTime periods and also see if they've been assigned to FlexTime periods, or basically what's on the calendar for them coming up and in the future. The process for managing FlexTime on campus starts at the administrator level. And of course, under the FlexTime manager, as a Minga owner or manager, you can, under settings, you're going to want to, of course, just enable FlexTime for teachers and staff. And then you can also make and designate who your FlexTime managers are. And when you add a FlexTime manager, this will likely be a staff member, a couple staff members on campus. These are the people that will have full access and privileges within the FlexTime manager and can create periods and basically edit and manage everything. So step number 1 in this process is, of course, to make your FlexTime periods available. And as a FlexTime administrator, a FlexTime manager, then you're simply going to log in to Minga, pop into your FlexTime screen, click on the periods tab at the bottom, and you can then make and create FlexTime periods. And these are the windows that activities will be available for students to register or to get assigned to. So step number one, as an administrator, we're going to make that FlexTime period and create those FlexTime periods. So you can see I already have 2 created. There's a Thursday Flex coming up on the 3rd, a Friday Flex coming up at the 4th, on the 4th, and I'm going to create one more here very quickly. This is my Monday Flex. And this is my every Monday in this Flex period activity. We choose the activities available. We choose what's going to be coming up for the week. That's going to be at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there's a few simple options. It's that can teachers and staff add activities? Yes, they can. Can teachers and staff make student changes? That means, can they assign students to activities? Yes, they can. And I'm also, in this case, going to let my students register and make changes during that period. And Christy just threw in a great question. Christy says, can we preset flex periods for the year if we have them scheduled each day? Yes, Christy, you can pre-schedule and preset all of your flex time periods and activities for the whole year. And we actually, I believe probably for that exact situation, you'll notice that that on the right-hand side, when you're an administrator, on the right-hand side, we have a very cool button called the clone button. And what this allows you to do is to create an entire FlexTime template that includes all the activities and even registrations. And you can prefix a set FlexTime. And rather than have to recreate that every time over and over again, you can simply clone that entire structure of a FlexTime period and clone it and recreate it for multiple days. So that can greatly reduce the amount of time you're spending setting up. You can create that default template of what a FlexTime period and all the activities and registrations look like. Like maybe students are default assigned to all their homerooms, and then you can clone those every day. So that's your starting template for FlexTime. Christy, if that answers your question, that's awesome. And if not, please just throw in a little bit more on there, and I will keep try to keep my eye on the Q&A window, and I know Georgia will be looking at that as well. So, so I've created my period there, and then I'm going to create one more just so we have a Tuesday here as well. So this will be my Tuesday Flex. You can see these are the periods themselves are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to them. It's just really setting up the high-level guides on what can happen here. And when I create them, you'll notice that under so now I have, a kind of part of my upcoming week all scheduled for my periods. And you'll see in these situations that from the periods tab, I can see all the periods. I can also, as an administrator, edit them from here. I can see the dates and time. And then under status, you'll see these are all unlocked, which means that teachers can add activities, teachers can make changes, and students can make changes to their activity schedules right here as well. The basic hierarchy of how our FlexTime works is pretty kind of clear in the same hierarchy you use on campus. Administrators are at the top of the hierarchy. They can make changes to Flex. If they assign a student or create something, then that is basically going to be fixed. If it's open or available, then teachers can then themselves add activities and or assign students, but they can't override the decisions that have been made by an administrator. So then teachers can add activities and teachers can assign students. Then when it comes down to and that would be assigning a student to a particular, so like little Bart needs to go to math tutoring on Monday. And then students are the last part in that hierarchy. And if a student is unassigned to an activity or still free to make to choose a class, then they can select available activities that are available to them. but they can't override decisions made by teachers or admins. So in this case, so here we can see I've created my 4 flex periods. And now the next step is I'm just putting it out to my staff to go and assign their activities to those flex periods. And this, of course, I'm keeping it very open and very unstructured in this case, that teachers are now, once we have a schedule built, teachers are going to add their activities to that schedule. And for that, I'm going to switch over to Ms. Krabappel. Here's my teacher. And I'm just going to refresh her because I made some changes. And here we go. I'm going to pop into my FlexTime manager over here. And Ms. Krabappel sees that periods tab right away as well. And very simply, she can see all the upcoming FlexTime periods and now can add activities to those periods. In order to make this easy and efficient for your staff, everyone first creates templates for the activities they would like to make available for the year. So these are, it's just a template. It's a saved kind of activity. In this case, it's not assigned to any particular to any particular period. These are just templates that then allow me to very rapidly assign add these activities to upcoming periods. So I've already created a couple. I've got Ms. Krabappel teaches chemistry. She has a tutoring session that she might make available sometimes. She has a chemistry 11 test retake window to set up times for students to retake tests. And Ms. Krabappel also likes to occasionally offer a really nice nature hike. And every once in a while, we'll call it nature hike is going to be more like wellness. And so, and we're going to meet in the gym. And when creating an activity and an activity template, I can also, I've got spots for 15 people, so I can limit the availability of this activity to the number of people available. And I can add banners, my own custom banners, or select banners from here. And then here down at the bottom, I can see, do I want students to be able to register for this activity? The other option, if I turn that off, then students have to be assigned to this activity by an admin or a teacher. But if I turn it on, that means students will be able to sign up for it. And if I want to restrict who can register, I can limit this activity down to just a particular subset of students. And that could be, just say people in my class. It could be a particular grade, or I can leave it turned off and everyone will be able to register. So in this one, I'm going to keep it open for registration, 15 seats available for my nature hike. And now I've just created an activity template as well. And the process then for a teacher to assign those, to add activities to upcoming periods, simply click into the periods tab. And you can see right here that for Thursday Flex, as a teacher, I just add my activity to that. That's going to be a tutoring session. And then on Friday Flex, we're doing a retake. And for Tuesday Flex, we're going to do a nature hike. And Monday, I'm not adding an activity. In fact, I should have closed that for teachers. I'm going to change that one because on Mondays, everybody is default assigned to their homeroom because that's the period that they choose their flex that they choose their activities for the rest of the week. So when I update that now here on Ms. Krabappel's screen, you'll see that she does not have an option here to add an activity for that Monday. Those periods are fixed and she's locked out from doing any of that. So pretty easy process for teachers. They can create those templates and they're simply just going to make those available. And now it's very easy for Ms. Krabappel to see what she has. If she wants to edit what she has available for Tuesday Flex, she can simply click that, and that gives her the option to choose something different or remove that activity from that available window. But very straightforward, very easy for her to add activities. And as you can see, this can be done well in advance. So you can very simply manage and schedule your flex time periods and activities, 2 or 3 weeks in advance if you want to, or for the whole year if needed. Of course, often the point of a flex time is to update the choice based on the options based on the needs of the students. So, most of the time we're seeing these managed 2 or 3 weeks in advance, maybe even the upcoming week. So now so this is back to my admin screen. I can see now from the admin side, I'm going to see from an administrator view, I can very easily also see all the activities available during coming up. I can see all my periods. I can see how many activities have been made available during those periods. Very easy to see my statuses for locked. And I'm actually going to create a flex period for today from 7:30 until 8:30, so that we have one happening live right now. So there's a flex period happening at the moment, and I know it's a little last minute, but let's see what I got here. Ms. Krabappel is going to add some chemistry level tutoring for today as well. So we have a flex period happening at the moment. Because from an administrator perspective, I can also very easily see on the FlexTime dashboard what's happening in real time for my flex periods today. I can see who's registered for what activities, and then I can also see real time check-in information, similar, kind of built on those components from our check-in module. So I can see in real time on the dashboard, like students that are all checked in. I have accountability over students making it to the FlexTime activities that they're supposed to be at, and also be able to look at a glance who's not checked in or who's not registered for particular activities or periods. Now, as a FlexTime administrator, I can also make activities available. So not only can I be the administrator, but I can also make activities available during particular FlexTime windows as well. So for today, I'm also going to be offering, as the FlexTime manager, person managing my FlexTime period at school, I'm also making an algebra skills activity available. Let's see, that's for Thursday. I'm going to make a study hall available on Thursday. And I'm going to be rocking the algebra skills for the rest of the week. So now we have, quickly created, not only made our FlexTime periods available, but we have also so we have FlexTime periods now. We have a FlexTime period calendar. We've also had our staff and some of our admins make activities available during those flex times. And of course, now it's Monday and it's time to choose. So in this example, students are going to come into homeroom and Bart's going to simply log in to Minga, and he's going to click on student tools. He's going to click on FlexTime, and he's going to see everything available coming up for all the FlexTime activity and the FlexTime calendar coming up, as well as what's available for him to participate or what he needs to register for. Now, Bart is struggling a bit with chemistry. So before he has the chance to register, as Ms. Krabappel I have a chemistry 11 tutoring taking place on Thursday. And what I would like to do is make sure Bart's going to come to that. So under my activities tab now, I can see all the activities coming up for my Thursday flex period. I can see all the activities available here. And I'm going to assign by clicking on this. This is showing me how many students are registered for my activities under students here. And I can see right now at the moment for Chem 11, my tutoring session, I have 0 students registered with a limit of 20. And I'm going to click on that. And that's actually a button that lets me assign students to that FlexTime. So now I can see 1 of 20 students is assigned and or registered for that FlexTime. I can click on it and see that list of students very easily. And so Bart has been pre-assigned to Chem 11 tutoring for Thursday Flex. So when Bart comes in on Monday morning to register for Flex, his FlexTime activity, to sign up for his activities for Flex, he can see that on Thursday, he's already been assigned to Chemistry 11 tutoring. And you can see that over here that he's been assigned there and his location. So very easy. The teacher that's teaching that activity, it's very easy for Bart to see his upcoming, not only real time, but his upcoming activities. So for today, he's going to register. He only has Chem 11 tutoring available for him. So he's going to register for Chemistry 11 tutoring today. Let's see what we got here. This must be limited to someone. He's got his retake available over here. And his nature hike coming up. So of course, if there was a lot more activities available, Bart would see those options come up. But very quickly, Bart was able to come through, choose his activities, register for them. For ones where he's able to change, there's a change option here under his FlexTime calendar. And he's able to change those because he registered for them. But if after Monday, students have gone and made their changes and you want to lock those down as an administrator, you can pop back into those periods and I can edit those periods and lock those. So I'm going to take off the option for students to make changes now, since my students have already come in and registered for their upcoming activities. And when Bart comes back in here and sees everything, he's now made his choices and he's no longer able to mess with stuff. So he's locked the FlexTime windows periods upcoming have been locked for, say, the upcoming week. Very simple, very straightforward, keeping things, clean and manageable. So we've gotten through creating periods, making activities available during periods, and students, either staff and admin assigning students to activities for a period, or students registering and selecting activities for a period. The last step, of course, is now reconciling attendance and having students check in for the activities that they have been either assigned to or signed up for. And for anyone that's done check-in with Minga before, it is the exact same process. So when it comes to the day, now it is Tuesday morning. Remember, we have a FlexTime period Tuesday morning. So there's my FlexTime period there, Tuesday morning. It's happening right now. I'm going to pop into Ms. Krabappel because she needs to check students in for her FlexTime activity. so now that she's ready for it, she's simply going to pop into teacher tools. She's going to assign a check-in for the activity. And so she clicks on assign check-in, and under here are the activities that she would have available today for this. Here's her chemistry 11 tutoring that's happening right now. And here, just like any other check-in function, we come up with our universal people finder component. She can use her mobile device to scan students' IDs when they come in. If you have a barcode scanner, you can set up that barcode scanner. Students can scan themselves when they come in, or I can very simply search for students or filter students under my rosters and groups that I have set up. And so there's Bart, he's come in. I'm going to add him to my FlexTime period. He's now been checked in for FlexTime. And if I come back to that FlexTime dashboard as an admin, there I'm going to start seeing all my updates of everything that, here's for my Tuesday Flex. If I had multiple periods happening today, I would see those as master tiles up top here, and I could pick, click on those tiles to select and see all of my activities below, as well as real-time check-in data for all of those activities. And that basically, wraps up the entire kind of process for FlexTime, from creating periods, creating and adding activities, assigning or students signing up for those activities, and then checking them in at the end of the day. So the last part now, of course, would be looking at historical data, where I can use under the reports tab to get registration or check-in data for my flex times, so I can easily see who's been checked in for what activities. I can export all this information as lists. I can also see who didn't show up for activities, so I can look at registration and check-in and unregistration data as well to see, who even wasn't registered. You have full reporting options now that we have checked in all this, or that we have, run the flex time here. We can now look back at all the data on what's, activities students attended, as well as who showed up for activities, who didn't show up for activities, and everything else like that as well. So I know that's a lot to sum up in a very short webinar, an introduction into FlexTime. As with all of our new modules, of course, we have released this. We've been working with a number of schools that are already working on this. We'll be continuing to release some updates. The dashboard is going to be changing to have a little more information on it and a little more options for clicking right from the dashboard. So that's one of the first updates coming out very quickly. In addition to some additional reports and some updates to the summary reports for FlexTime. But there will be lots of changes coming as we continue to release updates for Minga. I think George is raising a hand. I see Georgia raising her hand. Are you raising your hand, Georgia?
Yes, just a couple questions I've left for you to answer live, please, in the Q&A section.
Okay. Do I look in the open section?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, first off, let me thank everyone right now as we dive into some Q&A. We've definitely left some time here, but thanks all for joining too, for anyone that does need to start dropping off at some points, and I'll dive into Q&A now. Okay, so Christy says, we currently use another schedule for our flex period, which for us occurs daily. How much work does this Minga module require on a weekly basis? We currently don't allow teachers to manage their own periods. Most of the time, teachers are expected to work with students on reteaching test projects. Our periods are preset for the year, and so creation of periods happens on the back end before school even starts. So Christy, if you're pre-registered or pre-creating all of your periods, that's where you're definitely going to use that clone button to create all the periods and build up that calendar first. And then I guess the next step for you, it's very challenging for me to answer the question how much time you need to manage, because it really depends on the specifics and nuances of how many changes you're making to student assignments during the week. But as you can see here, as an administrator, it's pretty straightforward for you to assign students. So as an administrator, you'll be able to see under the activities tab, all the activities available for a period. And it's pretty easy for you to assign students to those activities based on the needs or demands that you have. That if I was to click on this for algebra skills, that does give me the same people finder that would allow me to upload lists or select from pre-built rosters for assigning students, and can be, pretty quick for you to do that. And it sounds like in your situation, that's probably the thing that you'll be doing on a regular basis. So, and more than likely, I'm guessing maybe once a week to assign those students for the upcoming periods. If the bulk of your students are continuing to attend preset activities, then most of your work is going to be done up front. And the process is really going to be using Minga for checking in which case you'll be doing, as a FlexTime administrator, you'll be doing very little work on a weekly basis. It'll be mostly just the teachers reconciling and doing check-in during the time. So hopefully that helps, but I see a few questions. So of course, if you have more questions or you want to dive into this a little bit more, just either reach out to our customer experience team or your account manager, and they can walk you through this in detail. Melissa says, if students don't sign up for an activity, do they get assigned somewhere by default? Great question, Melissa. At the moment, no. What we would recommend for that workflow is that you pre-assign students to everything, like let's say a homeroom or your default like study period or something like that. So they're pre-assigned, and then they can they can move and register for something new from there. And then if they don't register for something new, they're going to default to that pre-assigned registration or activity that they were kind of bulk assigned to at the beginning. But great question. And that is our workflow for it at the moment. It does provide a little more clarity and guidance for students on where they're supposed to be going by default. But we'll be that's one of the ones that we're talking about and working with schools on right now. So that is our workflow for that case. Great question. Thank you. Christy says, do we have to have the check-in feature for Minga for attendance? So great question, Christy. At the moment, FlexTime is, for all intents and purposes, FlexTime is an additional module on top of the Minga bundle. So because it does have a bunch of dependencies for other components, the check-in component being, check-in module being definitely one of those. So Christy, yes, you do need the check-in feature. I don't know off the top of my head, Christy, what your Minga at your school looks like, but the check-in module is a pay for component. And so that would be, I'm not sure if you have it or not already on your Minga. I would have to look first before I could tell you if it's an additional cost for you. Demetrius says, after taking attendance, does FlexTime automatically update the info to Skyward? So Demetrius, that's a very good question. No, and the short answer is no, we don't automatically update or update that information to the Skyward or to your student information system. Generally speaking, your student information system, and one of the downfalls of, or one of the challenges with FlexTime and your traditional student information system is, of course, that your SIS does not like doing attendance or managing attendance for flexible elements. So that could be a flexible academic schedule. So in that case, I mean, one of the challenges right out of the gate is we wouldn't have anything necessarily to write that attendance information to within Skyward or your student information system. So usually in these cases, if you have a generic FlexTime period in your student information system, you could upload the bulk check-in data for the entire FlexTime period to show students attended that element or that period on the academic schedule. But as far as the specifics of like what activity and things like that that they attended, that information would be available in Minga. Great question. Thank you. Dale, if a student is not registered, could they check in to any teacher who has a FlexTime during that time? Yes, Dale. So that's a great one as well. If students aren't registered, you will be able to very easily see who's not registered for a particular period coming up. And then when students go to, if they were to say wander over because they just happened to pop into Edna's chemistry 11 tutoring, then when Edna checked them in, she would have the option to register them and check them in at the same time. So it would pop up and say the student's not registered for, chemistry 11 tutoring. Would you like to register them and check them in? And it will do that in one fell swoop. It's the exact same check-in process that we use for events and other activities on campus, and kind of works with the same concept as ticketing. So short answer, Dale, is yes, they could register and check in to any teacher during that FlexTime period for that activity in one step. Great question. Thank you, Dale. And Sunny says, once a student is assigned to an activity, does the teacher still have to check the roster if a student checked in? I have to reread that one to myself. Once a student is assigned to an activity, does the teacher still have to check the roster? The student checked in. I think maybe that's the same question that Dale just asked, but I'm not positive. So does the teacher still have to check the roster if a student checked in? So the student's been assigned to an activity that would happen by an administrator or a teacher would assign them to an activity. Or maybe the question is during check-in, when the student's checking in, the teacher wouldn't have to check the roster. When the teacher checked them in, if they weren't assigned to that activity or they weren't registered for the activity, it would pop up and say the student's not assigned for this activity or registered for it. So, and then in that step, they would have an option to basically deny them and send them somewhere else, or to wherever they're supposed to go, or register them and check them in, unless they were pre-assigned to something else by an administrator or a teacher, in which case you couldn't override that. So that means that, Mr. Skinner has them assigned to something else. You would not be able to override Mr. Skinner's assignment. You would basically say, hey, student, you need to go over to here. You've been assigned by Mr. Skinner to detention or something. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Sally. So thank you again, everyone. This was one of our largest webinars we've ever done. So very exciting to see such a large crowd today. Thank you all so much for choosing Minga this year for 23-24 school year. We are so excited as a team to work with you and welcome you to Minga for everyone that's new and welcome you back for everyone that's coming back for this year. We have grown our team a lot. So once again, your feedback, your comments, your suggestions are always so much appreciated. Thank you again all for joining today, and thank you for welcoming Minga into your school for the 23-24 school year. I'm Jason. Have a wonderful Tuesday and enjoy the rest of what is remaining for your summer breaks and vacations. Thank you so much.